I've been rewatching X-Files like nonstop, and something about y'all, well, reminds me of the whole dynamic between Mulder and uh, Dana Scully. I don't know why. It's not technically with another person, but it's like a dynamic within yourself, like, because they represent 2 different spectrums of belief. Like, Mulder believes in the paranormal, the UFOs, right? And then Dana, she's not more grounded than him in a way because she has her belief based in faith and miracles, right? And it's funny to me because they both witness the same stuff, yet they cannot come to like a consensus on where both of their beliefs actually meet in the center. And I feel like that despite this kind of like dual perspective, like it's just giving me like, if not that it conflicts to the point where, like, a blind spot is created. Those 2 give the full picture of what's actually going on, even though they can't agree, and I feel like that disagreement itself, funny enough, we get the 5 of swords, that disagreement itself is what kind of fuels the search for proof of whatever, of either side, and I feel like that the dynamic between like, within you is, like, it has, like, a merging point to where both lenses overlap and completely overlap, not just in a Venn diagram. I feel like on its base, the 2 sides are like the Venn diagram. They meet in the middle, and it's obvious where they do, where they overlap, though the perspective of either or seems to be absolute. I hope that makes sense, right? But basically, I feel like that you have such a well-rounded view of, like, energy, the paranormal, whatever it is, I feel like that you're kind of like you had the proof, essentially, that your mind already needs, but you're constantly in, like, a skeptical energy, and I feel like this is important. Because it keeps things grounded, like, you are the type you're giving me a researcher where it's like the dynamic itself is just the information and you're sitting above it. Kind of like you see where it overlaps, but you also see the polarization of it, but even the polarization of, like, one denying the other has its purpose in creating a bigger picture, and I feel like day to day, you could go and cross those, like, that Venn diagrams. Someday you'll be hard-lined on this side, and then it starts to make sense when you meet in the middle and you realize that actually you were discovering something like, I don't know, you're just coming to a new discovery of something. And it's very cryptic because I feel like it's like, yes, because of the X-Files reference, but also because you think very differently. It's very different. But the thing about you is that you're like your mind can be out there, yet you are still grounded in reality, and if you need to come back to reality, you could do so easily. And this kind of like this impresses people because I feel like on first meeting, people be like, "Nuts, nuts," until they listen a little closer and they're like, "Oh." No, because it's like you're not hard-lined on one side. It's like you can give the opinion of it and then kind of, like, show how it can work in the other way. I don't know, people are always shocked by you, right? Your first impression gives this person's a Looney Tune, right? But then they realize, "Ooh, no, I feel like despite the whimsy and the beliefs that they cannot reconcile within themselves, that they see what you're actually getting at." You know, this is interesting, the 3 of Wands. The 3 of Wands is like an overlook kind of the future, what you have going in, like, basically, you're standing on the precipice of manifestations, like, rolling in literally, your ship's coming in. But I feel like these are your ideas, and the vast ocean encompasses all perspective, and there's something about your mind that does not discount the whole thing. I feel like you don't necessarily need to have lived something to recognize its truth, and it's very special, you know? So we're gonna see what spirits got today. Interesting. So look, we got the Emperor. This is one half of that Venn diagram. It's the actionable part, but it's also the more scientific and grounded part. Then we have this Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is all about a journey. This is give it's what you're giving me CSI forensics. Like with the Emperor is basically somebody who is relying on empirical data. If we're gonna take it that way, it is the scientist, the one who seeks cause and effect and needs to document exactly why something happens, you know? The Knight of Pentacles is the one who's focused on the journey itself, gathering all the clues. No stone left unturned. When I say no stone left unturned, this is so weird, but there's a Scooby-Doo movie about Australian vampires, and basically Shaggy Shaggy and Scooby were in, this, like, carnival, and nobody was there, and like, they play their little, like, music montage, and I'm pretty sure one of them said, "We left no stone unturned," right? And then the vampires appear. It's kind of funny. So it's and doesn't that play directly into the dynamic I'm talking about within this collective? Right? Like you searching for the tangible, only then to find the mystical in a way. And that's kind of what this is. The Knight of Pentacles is really giving me that because it's about both things at once, the destination, the thing you find, and the how you did it in the first place. So because you take a grounded approach to life, but you don't deny the mystical, like you find special things. Like, and I feel like you have it like really personal experiences that just they wouldn't get it unless they were in your shoes, and, like, that's kind of like I don't know, what you're giving off. It's like, in search of the truth, you're not technically looking for the woo-woo stuff, but you end up finding it, and that's what I feel like is really, like, it's interesting about your mind because normally the one who seeks empirical data and a grounded analysis of what they're seeing wholeheartedly denies anything that cannot be proven true physically. But you don't have that limitation. You value both because you recognize that they have so much overlap that it's foolish to deny one. And I feel like this has proven itself throughout human history, like since our caveman days man has always been obsessed with the unseen. It gives me the discovery of fire because fire is it's it's weird. It's like a physical measurable thing, but how back then are you supposed to like they thought it was from the gods, right? And it honestly like birthed like, technology. Like, I know there's probably tools that we used before creating the fire, but the fire is like the internet of that time. It's like the major breakthrough, and it comes from something like, they think it's something mystical, and then it turns out to be scientific. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But I really feel like the fire myth fits here because what the Greeks said Prometheus stole fire to give to mankind, and that fire not only represents the warmth of, the actual thing itself, but the knowledge that came from above that had real world application, like myth and discovery and science, they go hand in hand. They describe 2 factors of something. Because I feel like the psychology of it is just as important as the measurable data, you know? Everything has a meaning to it, and just because it can be measured does not take that meaning away. It actually adds to it, So you are kind of that perspective that'll drive the type A brain insane, right? Because you'll be agreeing with them, but then you're adding in a whole 'nother element that they cannot believe in, like, they refuse to. right? And I feel like that you're putting and same on the other end to the ones that deny science. You will also show them that, like, you can think like they do, but you know the truth, that there's a whole other side to the coin. It's giving me that dynamic, Mulder and Scully, you know? And that's also funny because they're like Mulder's the man, Scully's the woman. So it's like an interplay between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And you kind of like take that to just a different degree, like to be both at once. The one who is locked in the tower and the dragon that guards it. When we have this 6 of cups, people want to know how you hold on because there's something specific that you have that people lose, and it's belief. The 6 of cups speaks of the childhood, of nostalgia, but as a child, what was the easiest thing to do? To play and to make believe, to have a understanding that life isn't all physical. People lose this as they grow up. Some it's unavoidable because if you don't feed it and then you continue to like disregard it because of societal standards, you lose it. And that's just how it works. But you do not lose the root you have to the imagination, right? And this is something that a lot of people discount, but the imagination, and I've said this so many times, is akin to the void of space. It's infinite and it contains everything humanity has. And you recognize this. And this is why people kind of find themselves to be a bit bewildered by you because it's not that you're abrasive, but you are unapologetic in your beliefs. I feel like you have no problem talking about it. I feel like you could yap about it. And it's not that you're so selfish that you're just taking everybody's time and feeling like you're the only one that has something to say. No, but it's like you know that you're on to some stuff. And I feel like you just don't care about not taking up space. Even though some people might look at you, mock you even, I feel like that this only fuels you because you have all the proof you need, and I feel like you explain your points very well, to the point where, like, the only thing they can call you is crazy and that has no meaning in today's world, absolutely none, because real crazy is shown to us every single day on the TV. So it's like somebody being unapologetically themselves and not feeling embarrassed about it makes other people kind of like, "Who are you?" And I feel like that you just don't cower to that at all. Mulder is kinda like that too, like, he's unapologetic and he will argue with anybody that wants to test it, to question it. He's not above the education of other people. You know what? You're not one of those people that'll make some point and then be like, "It's not my job to educate you." You know those types of people that just gag? Ugh. You have no problem telling people, like, exactly why you think the way you do and where you got it from. And when you start doing this, people's defenses drop because they realize that you're not being delusional, for lack of a better term, and that's what they think at first. But because you're so willing to confront a person's skepticism, it actually causes a change in their mind to where they're like, "Wait, okay, I still don't agree with this person, but, like, they're making a point, like, I can see where they're coming from." And it's like, that's when people realize that they're lacking that connection to the unseen, you know? And does that mean that will open their eyes? No, because human nature is human nature, and a lot of the times, it doesn't matter what type of proof you show somebody, they need to come to the conclusion on their own, or else they're not gonna get it, you know? Yeah, this is about people's skepticism. We have a 10 of swords. This is this is not about betrayal. This is basically the yapping of you. And the sword that are being just tossed, thrown, are your very well-formed ideas. And the reason it's the 10 of swords is because it puts an end to what I was saying earlier, which not skepticism, but a certain belief that you don't know what you're talking about. As soon as you start throwing those facts around, really kind of like throwing your weight intellectually, that's when people realize that you're not a fool. That's when people realize that you've put real thought into this shit, that it's not a joke. And you have so many things you can point to. So it's giving me like you're just that type of person who people will feel like, I don't know, like whatever you're saying, you can't defend it. But when you start to defend it with like, I don't know, shit that makes sense, that's when there's kind of like a change in the room. There's a shift to where people, I feel like people will get chills once they realize that you're not bullshitting. Right. And it kind of like stops people in their tracks in their mind because you're forcing them to take another perspective through genuinely well thought out points that to ignore them doesn't bode well for the person who feels like they can argue against you. You know what I mean? So this is what makes people like actually respect you because of the fact that you make good points and that if they wanted to refute them, they need something just as good. And I feel like at that point, people don't really wanna do that anymore. Like, of course, you'll have those groups of people who want to say this and that about you. I don't know. Then you'll have the other people that wanna copy it. It's a lot. It's a lot, but you create such a frenzy because of your mind. When we have the star, this again, the star can talk about healing, but I feel like it for this, it's giving me somebody coming from a place of, like, mistrust of their own viewpoint into realizing that they're not only correct, but they're really correct. It's healing the self-agency and the ability to kind of, like, speak your mind without getting embarrassed, and it's not because you have no filter, it's because your spirit pushes you to share your experience, because obviously it resonates, and this is what elevates you in the minds of others. You know? Oh my gosh, it's giving me, like, how kings and queens and still today, don't let it fool you, the politicians and the people in power still use it to this day. The court astrologer, the kind of the mystic that is accepted by the wider populace because of the points they make, and then the backing from the people in power. And I'm not telling you that you are like bootlicking or anything like that. It's not that at all, right? But it's giving me like even people who they could even be religious, and it doesn't matter, they would come to you for advice. And I feel like once that happened, then a healing of the past happened at the same time because I'm getting a sense of ridicule, of belittling, of trying to discount your viewpoint just because it clashes with another. But that's another thing about you, you don't mind the clash. I feel like you embrace it. You know, like, you're just giving me it's beyond loving to argue. It's way beyond that. It's way beyond that. Speaking of arguing, we have this 5 of wands. You're not afraid to rock the boat. You'll rock the boat and not I mean, you might play devil's advocate, but not out of it just a sole desire to be contrary or malicious, right? Just to get people mad. I feel like you're thought provoking. So people will argue about it because you're making a point and you can get a discussion started. Even if it's heated, but it's like it's so necessary. I feel like you it's like that type of energy drives innovation. By challenging the status quo, especially in a room where everybody thinks the same and one person is ready to take on the hostility of the group by calling them out directly, that's you. You'll do that, and people never meet people like you, y'all. People like you are so spread out, but once they're in the room, it's go time. It is go time. This is a person who is just not ashamed to rock that boat, to stir that pot, and I kind of love this about you, and I feel like spirit does too. Like, there's something about you in the free marketplace of ideas that it's like you almost embody this, and you bring it everywhere you go. You bring it everywhere you go. Then, interesting enough, we find the Four of Cups. Oftentimes, people don't know why you get under their skin so much. They don't know why they feel emotions to the degree that they do when you open your mouth. They don't know where it comes from, but what they do recognize is that you get people talking. You get people feeling. More so than talking, like, people feel you and your words affect their emotions. This is extremely powerful, especially in a world where everybody prides themselves on being unbothered. You're giving me the clean girl versus the maximalist type of thing, and or like the modern decor, which is bland and boring versus like what there's a word for it. Maybe it's eclectic? I think the right word is maximalism, like loud, colorful, expressive. So you'll get people that want to remain unbothered. They do not want to get involved. Even those people will be provoked to thought to where they have to question a narrative. This is so powerful. So I don't think you realize what you're actually doing because this stuff leads to discovery. You're definitely the one who you'll have people like you yourself will have the idea, and the way you disseminate it into the populace, into the collective unconscious is like art. It's art because it takes somebody like you, an unapologetic person who's not afraid to be at odds with literally everybody in the room. Because that violates so much of human history and the human mind's version of safety. Back in the caveman days, if you were against the group, you were almost guaranteed to die and quickly or painfully, like to the elements and the wild animals and starvation and disease, right? So it's like your ability to fight back against the lizard brain is crazy. The lizard brain is so much more difficult to, like, override than people actually think because of the way it hijacks your whole system using neurochemicals, right? Releasing chemicals, that's how it works. It'll completely take over your body. But for some reason, because it's unavoidable as a human, right? And it's like an automatic trigger, but there's a difference between the person who gets lost in it versus the person who recognizes the state and willingly steps out of it. This is a level of mental control that other people don't know exists until they meet you, you know? Because when cortisol and adrenaline is released, you may not be able to smell it like an animal does, but humans can pick up on the micro expressions, the micro body movements, the uncomfortability, even if it's just for a split second. And it just doesn't happen with you. People will feel like it's like, "What is going on here? What exactly is going on here?" And that's why it's like the Four of Cups is perfect for that, because that's how they feel. They don't know why you make them feel like this, but they do appreciate that you get their gears moving. You're like oil, WD-40. You're like oh my gosh, you're like a bridge. You know those people that, can bring others together? I feel like that so the traumatic version of this And I'll show you the card that I'm thinking of, 2 of Cups. The traumatic version of this is basically introducing 2 of your friends, and then they become best friends and cut you out of the group. But aside from this, because that's not what this is basically you bringing people to express their thoughts, their true feelings, and because of that, they find connection, you know? And I feel like you kind of distance yourself from this in a way, like you're a conjoiner, you're the one that allows the major bonds to form in the room, like, it's like a gift of your presence, is connection. And I feel like you're the type you're like, "That's over there. I'm gonna be in my role. I'm gonna stay doing what I like to do." But I feel like you recognize just exactly what you can do, right? Connecting like-minded people who have been wearing a mask, so they would never know without you. They would never know, collective. So you get that's what you need to know.